So we'll call the meeting to order. Good morning, everyone. We have, again, I think we should have a roll call. As I understand it, we have Commissioner Pavlik, Mayor Droba, Councilor Kraus, and Commissioner McBride, plus the KETA staff. Is that correct?
And Commissioner
Mike Hanson.
And Rob, yeah. Hanson, and, oh, here we go. And Representative Eklund.
All right. We'll proceed. First item is to approve the agenda. Do we have any additions, deletions, corrections?
I would move on the agenda, Mayor Droba.
All right. We have a motion by Mayor Droba to approve the agenda. Do we have a second?
Second by Pavlik.
All right. We have a second by Commissioner Pavlik. Any more discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye. Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? The agenda is approved. We'll move on to the minutes from October 19th. Any deletions, corrections? All right. I'll entertain a motion.
Commissioner McBride. Mayor Droba will move on the minutes.
All right. Did you move first, Commissioner McBride? It's very difficult to hear you.
Yes.
What?
I will second.
We have a motion by Mayor Droba, and I don't know what Commissioner McBride did. Did you second it, or?
Commissioner McBride made the motion and Droba seconded. I'm sorry.
All right. You're going to have to speak into the microphone, or move the microphone, I guess. All right, we have a motion.
Okay. Yep.
Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Shall we move to mute?
Any abstentions? The minutes are approved. The next item is the Treasurer's Report. Treasurer McBride.
Can you hear me, Mr. Chair?
Very poorly.
How about now, Mr. Chair?
Yes, much better.
Okay, I'm right in front of the microphone. All right, thank you. Cold weather testing. All right, cold weather testing. We had a transfer of $20,000 to cold weather testing from the JLR account. Unpaid bills. JLR. $2,885.40. Cold weather testing. $18,145.93. Everything looks in order. There may be a question or two that somebody may have, but we'll motion to approve first. I've moved that motion.
All right, we have a motion.
Mayor Droba will second.
All right, thank you, Mayor Droba. Any comments, questions?
Mr. Chair, this is Commissioner McBride. Just one for Paul, and that would be absolute refrigeration for startup charges. What all does that entail?
That is our old vendor, Midwest Refrigeration. Two of the principals left and started their own company. And every year before we start the season, we have them come up and service all three cold boxes they go through a startup phase and make sure everything's operating properly. So that's an annual expense that we anticipate before the start of the season.
And that bill was for $4,349. So.
Yep. And that's in line with the past, especially with all three boxes.
Any further discussion, questions? All those in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? Any abstentions? Very good. That motion is passed. Continue, Mr. McBride.
Okay. Key to bills for the as of November 18th, $2,073.61. Our payroll had not come in yet, and that was it'd be around $19,500. And I think our bill from Worley Motors has not come in yet. So we need to probably add somewhere in the area of about $20,000 to that payable. So, I mean, I would move that we pay those bills contingent on county payroll and Worley Motors being what they normally are. So I'd motion to pay the bills.
All right. We have a motion. Do we have a second?
And second from Commissioner Pavlik.
Thank you. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? Any abstentions? All right. We acknowledge the treasurer's report. Thank you very much, and pay the bills. The next item is the SBDC update, including the CARES relief grant.
Hi, this is Joanne. So our total funding that we did through the Koochiching County Relief Fund has been to date $400,627.53. The city of Rainier did have some additional funds left over, so they are giving the Decker's Home Care there in Rainier an additional the $10,000 for their application. We've recently had a couple applications come in due to things, COVID, things that just happened to some businesses recently. And so I sent those to the county to be reviewed to see if there was any funds left over that maybe we could try to help these couple businesses do that. And I'm still waiting to hear back from that. So definitely well over $400,000 that nonprofits and small businesses got in Koochiching County due to for COVID relief funds. So.
And Joanne, could you share again what's the deadline when the county has to return the dollars, or there's pending deadlines coming up, correct?
So the cities just had to have theirs in November 15th. So all of their funds spent, and whatever they didn't spend, they would go back to the county. And I don't know if it's the end of December, or I think it's. I think
it's December 1.
Well, is it 1?
Maybe it's December 1.
I'm not sure, but I think it's December 1.
I couldn't remember if it was the beginning or the end of December. No, there's so many dates, this date and that date that everything has to go through. So fairly soon they have to have all their funds spent. Otherwise, the money from the county then goes back to into the federal CARES funding large account. Also, the governor did announce the $10 million extra for help. We have not heard what the details are on that funding. It's for small businesses. There hasn't been any guidelines or anything like that yet. So we're just kind of waiting to hear what becomes of that amount. Any questions? you.
Thank you, Joanne.
And again, Mr. Chair, and again, and the board members, just the response we received from the entities that received the funding, we're very grateful, and now we're going into this month-long period again. Stress on these small businesses, especially the ones that are mandated to close or modify their operations, is really going to be difficult. So I encourage everyone, if you can, possibly to take out meals if you can at these restaurants, or try to support them. But it's a very difficult and trying time right around the holidays for these small businesses.
I agree, and it is almost out of control. So we're just trying to get through it. Any other comments?
Amen.
Thank you. The next item is the director's report. Director Nevenin.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and again, thanks everybody for joining us on Monday. A little technical trouble, but COVID has impacted all of us and touched us close here at the Kita office, and Kyra allowed that I could share that she did test positive, and members of her family, and she got through it, and they're doing well. But I just want to commend her. She continued to work from home, even with the family involved, and we continue to social distance here at the office, and we only meet with people in the conference room, and we've been very careful about how we monitor that. But it's as we see with the spike that's occurring in Cooch County, it's still something that we got to be vigilant about, and as you said, Mr. Chair, work through. But it has touched us here at the office. With that, a couple items I want to touch on with my director's report. It's been fairly quiet, but there's still activity occurring, and including the Housing Collaborative, which hadn't met for a while, and we continue to meet kind of virtually and in person. But at our last meeting earlier this month, we invited Bob Whalen, who is an experienced housing developer from the Bemidji area, to come on up and share his experience with various housing projects throughout the region. And Bob was actually joined by his builder and finance person, and they outlined the types of housing and the models that they've used to make them happen, including a apartment, 32-room apartment, unit apartment in Baudette, Minnesota, and as well as some apartments in Park Rapids, Black Duck, Bagley. So the good news is he's interested in this area as well, and he's been successful. So we're going to be working with the rest of our partners at the collaborative to figure out ways where we can possibly work with Bob and his team to bring some types of housing, whether it's apartments or condos or single family to the area. Because again, as the realtors outlined at our last meeting, there's definitely a need across the spectrum in housing. So we'll continue to work with that group. I did want to share, too, that the Little Fork Community Building grant application was submitted last week. Joanne and myself, but Joanne put a lot of effort into this, working with Sonia and her team down in Little Fork to put this. It's a pre-application for remodeling the community center. And as you recall, they expanded into an outdoor area, and they've invested in a pavilion there next to the community center. So the timing would be right if they could get this grant and allow them to provide more flexibility and update the existing community building there in Little Fork, and really truly make it kind of the heart of the downtown community. Oh, somebody's got to mute. Cold weather testing. We learned that JLR will probably not be sending any test groups. That's pending any vaccine that comes out early, but I don't see that. We won't have any actual engineering test groups, but we will have We will have some fleet tests going on. In fact, starting today with local drivers, there'll be 5 vehicles running throughout the winter here. So that's good news. I reported as I wrote this, I had 11 groups that had scheduled time for this season, including 2 that have already been on the ground. But I got a call on Friday from a group that was going to be here a week from today, and they canceled based on what they were seeing with the governor's orders, and it was an individual group decision. It was not a corporate decision, because another group called right after that and said we still plan on coming. So we did lose one group, and we're hoping that is the only one at this point in time, but we're still being impacted, and there's still some unknowns. Oh, yeah, somebody's got to mute.
Maybe it's me.
And then a couple of other items. Okay, there you go. A couple of other items. I hosted 2 different visits to our area. It's funny how this occurs. To look at our FTZ and rail sites in and around Rainier and the multimodal. Erica Meets, who's a business development manager for Green Worldwide, and they're a logistics provider that also includes foreign trade zone consulting. She came up and toured the area to learn more about, what we've got up here and what we've done in the past in terms of marketing the FTZ. She's actually got relatives from the area, and she bought a piece of property in Ray. So she's going to be up here a lot. So she's going to be a real nice advocate for the area, and she's already made some contacts on our behalf. So it was a real nice meeting there to get that awareness out there. And then in addition, Kate Ferguson, who's the business director for the Port of Duluth, and Ian Vincent, who's works for Apex. They came up, and they're doing a piece on transportation in the region. And I met with Kate down in Duluth. She's got that Connect Duluth, the intermodal facility down there. So we toured the area and looked at the rail sidings and the multimodal in Rainier, the situation there. And again, they're wanting to know more about the region and help advocate for the entire region in terms of foreign trade zone, warehousing, logistics, and the rest. And lastly, I was invited to attend a kickoff meeting with some regional economic development groups in the headwaters counties, Itasca, Beltrami, Lake of the Woods, and Clearwater. And the group is going to be meeting informally just to talk about what's happening in the region, what we can do kind of collaboratively to support development in the area, and look at issues that affect all of us: workforce, housing, daycare, those types of things. So it was a different audience, a little different group. I know a lot of the folks that were taking part in the meeting, but again, all of these partnerships, I think, help build awareness and again, advocate for the entire region in terms of jobs and job creation. So with that, I will entertain any questions.
Oh.
Yes.
Commissioner McBride asked a question. You were saying that some of the groups have kind of dropped out, or whether for the cold weather testing. With the governor's order, obviously people look at housing or hotels, but one of the issues is dining for them.
Yep.
And I think a lot of people do not really like to stay in a hotel and then go out to order food and go back to their hotel room and eat it. I mean, obviously it has an effect.
No question, and that's the group made that decision independently of a corporate policy. So it's going to be group by group, but we've got 3 groups now, 2 groups scheduled for December that will be in that governor's time frame. So after that, after the first of the year, then we've got additional test groups. So I'm hoping by then that we at least return to dining, in-room dining. But you're right, it does have an effect. Any other questions? All right, with that, and one other thing I put in your packets, there's a piece in the Star Trib about Perham, Minnesota, a community of 3,600 people, and it's talking about the economic resurgence that Perham's going through and the types of industries that are growing there and employing people. I think the interesting thing and one of the reasons I wanted to put it in your packets is, number one, it's a small community, but a lot of the businesses that are thriving are family-owned and have been around for a while, and the siblings are taking on a role. And anyway, it's interesting to look out into the region and see what's happening and look at success stories and kind of what's fueling it. But I just included that because I think it's a great example of growing what you have from within rather than recruiting from the outside.
And also those businesses and families have been there for quite a while, and they're very generous, giving back to the community, it appeared. And that's wonderful.
Yeah, that's a good point too, Alan. Yeah, they give back a lot. Yeah. They're part of the community, right?
I didn't hear that. Did someone say? I didn't hear. Any other comments? All right. We will move on to city and county and out-county updates. And we can start with, let's start with the end of the rainbow representative, Mr. Hanson.
Well, thank you, Mr. Chair. I appreciate being here today, and I'd like to wish everybody a best holiday they can have that's coming up. Things are pretty quiet now that the force from the orange world is done. In North Dome, of course, pretty quiet. Their city hall is pretty much closed up, and now they're municipal liquor store too. So they're just kind of riding the waves. Big Falls is still doing some work at their campground, and I've had a chance to talk to the folks in Little Fork, and they did want me to say an extra thank you for Paul and Joanne to help with their preliminary deed application, and they asked me to keep my fingers crossed. Also, I don't know if everybody knows this, but they've got a first-class thrift shop in Little Fork, and the proceeds from it are donated and given to their fire department. And they're, we got a big holiday coming up, and if you just want some unique things, they're open Tuesdays and Thursdays from 10 to 2, and the first Saturday of every month from 10 to 6, and they got stuff. And Mr. Chair, I didn't hear from Rainier, but as we heard from Joanne, things are going well there. Thank you.
Alan, you're muted.
I always forget that.
There you go.
But I think I'm the problem in the feedback. Thank you, Mr. Hanson. Any questions? We'll move on to Mayor Droba. Do you have any updates from the city? And by the way, congratulations on your new term.
Well, thank you for that. I actually don't have any updates with the city. We are still finalizing our budget. We have a very ambitious road project next year. The Holiday Gas Station store, they have submitted their permit to build, and it looks like they are on the cusp of starting that project even now. And we are continually working with the Highway 53 project for the hotel. But as of right now, there's no real movement on that, but we are greatly anticipating that to still come to fruition. And that's all I have.
Councilor Kraus, do you have anything to add?
No, nothing. I think Mayor Droba pretty much covered it all.
All right, thank you. Any questions? We'll move on to Commissioner Pavlik. Any updates?
Nothing from Wade.
Commissioner McBride?
Not much, Mr. Chair. Just been gone for a couple of weeks, enjoying the outdoors. Commissioner Pavlik, the county road 103, I think we got blacktop on it. We'll get through the winter now. So, and that was kind of exciting. And, we're putting down blacktop, I think, the 1st of November, which is unheard of. Other than that, first weekend in December, we will be getting ready to finalize our budget and certify it. Everything looks good. I think the commission have done a good job, our administration and all our employees and department heads. I think we have a good budget, and it's going to be balanced. That's all I have.
Thank you, Commissioner McBride. I would just like to thank you for your service to the county. You've been a great commissioner. You do your work. You're well prepared and understand the issues. So, for me at least personally, you'll be missed. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, for your kind words.
We have next item is public comments. Do we have any people from the public that would like to make comments? Hearing none, we'll move on to set the next meeting date. Do we meet in December?
We do, Mr. Chair.
All right. The next meeting date would either, if we follow the dates we have previously met, would be December 21st. How does that look?
First day of winter. Works for me.
Okay. December 21st at maybe we should meet at 9:30 so we don't.
Monday.
Yeah.
I'll be back by then. Be tight, but let's just do it.
What time are we going to meet?
9:30.
Back to 9:30?
December 21st. Okay. Very good. All right.
What's that? Is that
any other business?
Paul, do we have a housing meeting that day? I can't find the email from Isaac.
Oh, yeah. Is it on the 21st? Or that's a good question. I don't have it in my day planner here.
We just got an email from Isaac this morning reminding us that we don't have a meeting today. And I don't know what I did with that email because
Here, I got Isaac's here. Here's a second, Joe. Our December meeting will be our regular meeting time, 10 a.m. on the 4th Monday of the month, which would be 28th.
28th.
28th. Okay, just want to make sure.
28th.
All right. Thank you. We're set for December 21st. Very good. At 9:30. Thank you very much. Have a wonderful Thanksgiving. And stay safe. Stay well.